Well, howdy, friends. I know that it has been some time, and I just want to apologize first and foremost. So, where I have been is overwhelmed, honestly. Life has been so hectic and chaotic, just lots of personal stuff, lots of family stuff, all happening at the same time as me trying to get everything done here. And I have made a lot of progress. I've done a lot of filming, but unfortunately, editing and posting was just the thing that had to give. I am genuinely apologetic for that. It's been hectic, but this video is basically start to finish both bumpers. A lot more has happened since then. We've started the undercoating. We did a whole mechanical master tune-up, all of which will be videos. I do just simply, there needs to be more hours in the day and more days in the week. At this point, I hate to sound like a crusty old iron worker, but it's just kind of true right now. So I'm doing the best I can to get things edited and posted to keep you guys updated, but it has just been far too much in the last few weeks. So thank you guys for hanging on. Thank you for bearing with me and understanding. We're just out here doing our best, trying. But regardless, both bumpers are done, and here is the saga of making that happen.
Well, howdy, friends, and welcome to day one. This is kind of ground zero of doing a whole bunch of work on Amelia. We have a really big trip planned for later this year, and this truck needs a lot of work. And the first thing that needs to happen is this bumper needs to come off, because as you have seen potentially in a previous video, I was being recovered out of a snowbank with a static rope, and the bumper kind of came off of the truck just a little bit. We're going to be pulling the front bumper. We're going to be assessing the brackets. I do not personally own a welder, so I am going to have to go to a buddy's house to get that all fixed up. And while we're doing that, the bumper is going to be here, and I'm going to be prepping it for paint. And then I'm also, if we have time today, I'm going to be pulling the rear bumper to also prep that for paint as well. So this is day one of a lot of work that is happening on this truck, just really in the next about 2 months or so. So here we go. Also, I got a new little microphone dead raccoon thing here on my collar. So pay no mind to that, but you can hear me better. So grab your frosty treat of choice, and I suppose let's pull the bumper off. Bumpers, plural. Oh boy, here we go. All right, so step one. Okay, these lights, these guys are routed. Oh, that's right. From as they come, these hardcore driving lights do have a quick disconnect plug. Unfortunately, I'm remembering now, when wiring these, we did have to change that, unfortunately. So, I really don't feel like having to rewire those lights, so I think I'm just going to pull them off, set them in the engine bay, and run with that for a time until the bumpers are back on. So that's the plan there. So these kind of Smitty built Australian style bumper mounts are actually made by Hardcore Lighting, and they are an Australian company, so frankly that kind of checks out. But they did originally come with safety Allen screws that I immediately lost the actual tool for. So I drilled them out and just replaced them with standard bolts. So let's go ahead and get those off. Looks like a 10 maybe. Nope, apparently it's an 11? That'd be weird. Okay. Well, I just found the one 11 millimeter bolt on the entire truck. That's probably a lie. I'm sure there's more somewhere. Let's see. Okay. Ooh. I got eyes on it. And I suppose these are just going to live somewhere right in there for the time while the bumper is off of the truck. So, still don't know where this nut went, but I'm sure I will find it in my travels. We have to disconnect the winch from the battery. So let's get that done first and foremost. Pull the winch off, pull the bumper off. It's just that easy, right? And there we go. Just unbolt it from the bumper, call it a day. And from here, so this is what we're looking at. We have winch bolts here. Pay no mind to the apparently missing one. 3 out of 4 ain't bad. It's fine. Everything's fine. So I just got to get these unbolted, pull the winch off, and then onto the actual bumper bolts. Here's to hoping I can get enough slack out of this. There we go. Yep, that was not an issue. Not sure why I thought it was going to be. Can I do this one-handed? Yes, I can. All right, perfect. Let's take it off. Shove that back through there. Oh my God. I tried. And now comes the absolute best part of this whole thing, actually dealing with this and all the spacers there within. So, let's figure out what size this is real quick. Winch bolts, they're right here. For the record. Well, that's a 16, and that's definitely not. So, I suppose let's get the 16s off first. So this guy here, again, is a trail gear winch plate. And that can be bought off the shelf from like Summit, Yoda Masters, whatever. And this is an original Smitty built tube bumper from the 80s, lopped down the middle and welded to it. So the trail gear piece allowed for an actual, a fairly easy installation. It's just the brackets behind these top bolts decided to completely give way. So that's what we're dealing with right now. So this is also where it gets very interesting I don't know how these bolts, being threaded into broken brackets really gonna come out. So hopefully easy, I don't know. We're about to find out one way or another. Oh, that was almost a knuckle. Oh, oh man. Oh yeah, this is a thing. Bumper spacer because the winch is too big without them. And there is my factory Toyota bumper mount. It's not supposed to come off like that. Oh man, that was completely off of the truck. All right, sweet. So I suppose that's all together again. Okay, cool. Now, oh, and this was, what's happening on the other side of that? Oh no, it was actually just, for all intents and purposes, finger tight. So awesome. We love to see it. Oh boy. Okay. Nailed it. Nailed it. Still nailing it. What's it hitting on? Okay, more bumper spacers falling out. Awesome. Sick. Makes me a little bit, oh, the bumper's cracking my my running light lens. I'm really happy about that. Okay. All right. That's gonna fall, and it's gonna scare the crap out of me. Knew that was gonna happen. Okay. New tactic. This is really heavy. Okay. Well, there you have it. It's off. That would be that. Man, this thing's heavier than I remember. Holy balls. Well, sweet friends. The old bumper is completely off. Now let's take a look. Right, you can see right where the driver's side one was welded on. This one's still here. It's just broken in a completely different way. Wow. Oh. Yep. There we go. Okay. Well, apparently on a 1985 Toyota pickup, the far passenger side bumper mount weld is the strongest because that's the only one left. Wow. Holy crap. All right. Well, now that the bumper is completely off, the plan is at some point this week, I'm going to source a welder and a friend, maybe my brother, I don't know, and get those brackets re-welded on, hopefully with some gussets. Actually, no, with some gussets just to strengthen it up and allow for more winching over the next 10 years, I suppose, without this happening again. But in the meantime, the bumper is going to be painted, and so is the rear. And yeah, making it happen. Old trucks, they're fun. Well, good morning, friends, and welcome back to another day of working on Amelia. So, unfortunately, this past week did not get hardly anything done. I could actually confidently say that I got nothing done. Life happens. So today, bumper over yonder is, for all intents and purposes, ready for paint. got all the major rust off, and scuffed the rest of the old paint, and just gonna spray it because it will be powder coated one day. It's just today is not that day. So I put big effort into it, but not like insane effort, because it is all temporary. And now we're also prepping this surface here. Going to be shooting that black as well. So let's get to it. Okay, well, we got handy dandy masker. Oh, no. Yeah, something like that. And then got some more pizza box in here covering the bottom of the radiator. And this here is the Eastwood rust encapsulator. Not at all sponsored. I know nobody at the company. I saw a sponsored ad on Instagram, liked what I saw, and bought it. So we'll see how this goes. As I've mentioned, the whole chassis is getting done in this, so I'm allowed to be a little sloppy here, and it is directly paint over surface rust. So I'm gonna have to degrease that because I have valve cover gasket leak dripping all the way down onto my axle housing. So I'm gonna have to hit that with a degreaser before I paint all that. But for now, we can start here. I suppose I should read the directions. Okay. So shake the hell out of it is what that says. All right, well, let's see how it goes on. It's a fan spray. Wasn't expecting that. I suppose I should be wearing a mask right now, but most definitely not. Okay, so now that that's all nice and painted, still towel stuffed in threads, I just ran to the hardware store. I'm gonna be hitting all of this with a degreaser, and while that does its job, bumper is getting painted. There we go. All right, friends, well, here's the moment of truth. Rust reformer. So I have the encapsulator from Eastwood, but I really do want that to be just for the chassis itself. Stuff like this, it gets painted multiple times, kind of every year sort of thing. And so this, I'm just going to be hitting with a much less expensive coat of rust reformer, because I did get a lot of this down to bare metal, but it's never going to be perfect considering I'm working with a wire wheel. So it is what it is. So let's get this painted.
All right, well, this is super exciting. First coat done on this side at least, but progress is progress. I think it's coming out really well. You can obviously see a lot of pitting because, I mean, it's a 40-year-old bumper. So it'll never be perfect doing it this way, but you know what? Good enough for who it's for. Okay, so I have hit all of this with an immense amount of degreaser, and I started test spraying there. So, you know what? I'm just gonna stop thinking. I'm just gonna do it. Make it happen. Howdy, friends. It's a new day, a few weeks later, and by a new day, a few weeks later, I mean a new day probably like 3 weeks later. Really sorry, life happens. But I am in process. We are getting it on, and this has been such a fight so far. But the bumper bracket was welded on, and I then had threads to attach the bumper to. So here we are attempting to do that on a Thursday, after the possibly one of the longest work days of my life. So we're struggling a bit, but we're doing it. So, okay. Well, this is probably a fairly atrocious angle of everything, but it's what we're working with. So I am simply tightening these down, having to single-handedly fly this bumper and get bolts in at the same time. That was a little rough. I will not lie to you, but it's done. So all the bolts that are available are on, or at least started. So that's absolutely massive. And an unfortunate part of this whole ordeal is I actually have to run these spacers because my winch is so big and I didn't want to notch my Toyota grill. So at this point, I'm still just unfortunately gonna run the spacers. Click. Okay. Click. Click. Hang on. Do we have a bumper again? We have a bumper again. Hang on. We're going to be pulling the rear bumper and prepping that for paint, and also prepping my winch for paint, because now that the front bumper is all nice and pretty, that winch is disgusting. at this point. So, gonna get that cleaned up, spray it black, put it back on, and then probably be painting the rear bumper tomorrow. Just depends on how much time we have and how long this takes, because those bolts are really rusty. So here we go. Okay, well, those were single-handedly some of the most difficult bolts, if not the most difficult bolts I've faced on this truck. So that was not very fun, but it's off. And now it's time to start grinding these spots that are bad. Day 92 of filming this video and working on this truck. Real sorry about that. So today, rear bumper is going back on, winch and lights getting reinstalled on the front, and then we will be done with that portion of this whole deal. So I'm just gonna make it happen before it gets too freaking hot. Sorry. Should I do this today?